Hi, this is Zeb Portanova from Team Victus and VictusHealth.com. I wanted to thank everyone for listening. The theme of the Victus podcast is to live victorious. We have numerous friends, amateur athletes, professional athletes, world champion athletes, business leaders, CEOs, and public servants joining us on a regular basis and talking about the trials and successes they have had in their lives. Thank you for joining. Please visit VictusHealth.com for your healthcare needs and engage with us on Instagram and Facebook at Victus Health. Hey, Skatie.
Hi. Let me get set up here really quick, guys. Where we got some good lighting.
I mean, I was kind of hoping we could see Ed, partially clothed in the background. Is that a possibility?
Ed's currently on a different Zoom, which is why I can't use the good light area. So, COVID life. Let me see. I already saw a sunshine lounge set out of the corner of my eye.
Yep, that's me. I felt it was appropriate.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Makes me so happy to see. Makes me feel a lot more comfortable.
You're in your world. Wait,
a sunshine lounge set? Are you guys talking about like a sofa and chairs or something?
No, that's me. That's my clothing.
The sunshine color. I just realized that my coffee cup is not appropriate, so I won't show, but it says all I need is coffee and weed, which is definitely, it could be appropriate. CBD.
I mean, the plants are the same. So just a little molecular change to include THC or not. Skatie, welcome to the Team Victus podcast. You are awesome for joining. In full disclosure for everybody, Skatie and I are cousins. So I've been looking up to her for the last, roughly 34 years of her life, trying to figure out, making sure I do the same things that she's doing and kicking ass in business. Skatie
okay. No, Harvard.
No. So Skatie is an uber successful entrepreneur. We're going to hear all about her story, the brand she's built. Anything you're willing to share. I mean, I think the starting point here, Josh and I just came off of, so you got Josh with the glasses on the team. Obviously, Brooklyn and Barry Wynn, who doesn't have his video going for some reason. What's up, Barry?
He's not even connected to audio yet.
Yeah, forget him. He'll get his act together eventually. But everybody's part of the Team Victus, involved with our brand and our operations in some capacity. So Josh and I just came back from a Rich Froning workout weekend. So you'll hear us probably like commiserating at some point today. If we're not talking about you and all you got going on, we'll be talking about how we both basically got destroyed by Rich and his teammates this last weekend. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about you, and we want to hear your story. And I think Josh and I, before you even came on, our first question for you was going to be, when are you going to start accepting Bitcoin or Ethereum for payments?
I don't even know where to start with that. I'm ashamed to say that I basically know nothing about cryptocurrency, despite my nephew being heavily involved in it. But right. Why are you stockpiling cryptocurrency right now? Are you trying to offload some of it directly to my business? So I just did the last podcast we did was with me and Russell. And I don't know if you know this. Russell is probably one of the top guys, the top 3 people in the world on Bitcoin mining. And they have built a multi-billion-dollar company run by the former chief operating officer of Microsoft, a guy named Kevin Turner. And so that's Russell's company that he co-founded. And so if you want to learn, Charlie our cousin Charlie can walk you through that too. But if you want to learn from Russell, check out the last podcast, and he makes it relatively simple. So we do happen to be stockpiling Bitcoin, but it's because we're very bullish on it. So, you're not planning on taking Bitcoin anytime soon? I can't pay you in the BTC. It's not going to happen. My husband would be happy to take some. I know he's really into it, and we have a bunch, but that's the extent of what I know.
So you do own some.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. We bought Bitcoin. I should say I want to full disclosure. I know nothing about this. This is all my husband's thing. He bought it at 2,000 Bitcoin. We've had it long term. Whenever it's dropped, we've bought more.
We've had Ethereum for forever. I know he's like really into those like new cryptocurrencies. And I have a friend that he's the VP of Universal Music Group. And they are like super into this new cryptocurrency that's, I guess, you can like trade in fine art with it. So like if you want to sell a digital file, you can only sell one of them. And so they're really, I mean, he's, the vice president of marketing. So they're super into that.
Skatie, you do know a lot about this. I mean, if you know, Josh, what are those things called? Those
NFTs.
What's that stand for?
Non-Fungible Tokens. So like, it's really cool for music artists even. So instead of them having to deal with Spotify and they get like 5 cents or 0.05 cents on the play, they could sell a song, get royalties off of it. So
So I mean, I feel like I just came off a lot better than I should have in the last 5 minutes of knowing about.
It's awesome. As I'm not surprised at all that you have are dabbling in a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So tell everybody about the brand you've built, and then I kind of want to have you walk us through, and I'll help ask some questions to like hear the story of kind of how you got to where you are today. But tell everybody, what is Skatie? What have you created?
Yeah, totally. So I started a brand that's Skatie, which is named after myself, which is not narcissistic at all. And we started out with doing sustainable swimwear. The entire brand is direct to consumer. We've been doing it for around 4 years and 3 months. And over the last 4 years, we've added in activewear and loungewear. It's all made locally, really built through social media. I would say that we're more of a community than just a brand. I think that Brooklyn can speak to that maybe later. That's just like the base of what I do.
So wait a second, like it just didn't happen overnight, right? Like how old were you when you were like, I want to build or I want to start a swimwear company? Like what was the impetus behind that? Because you didn't just wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do.
No, I mean, I definitely always knew that I wanted to be in the fashion space. I actually started my design background at Tulane University, where I was majoring in fine art. And for my first year and a half there, loved the party scene of being in New Orleans, loved the collegiate life, but I knew that fine arts wasn't going to make me a bunch of money and wasn't going to be like a viable career, because I've my entire life been someone who's super goal orientated. I've known I've wanted to have my own business like ever since I was 5. It was not even a question. So I ended up applying to fashion school because I knew I could translate what I was doing in art school to fashion design. And my grandma actually taught me to sew when I was 7 or 8 years old. So I had kind of a little bit of an understanding of that anyways. So I took some time off between college and going to fashion school, going to this new program. And
where was the new program at that you were going to go to? Because you said you were at Tulane and then you're going to transfer to the fashion school. Where was that going to be at?
So I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. And I applied to a couple of schools, and full disclosure, I 100% watched a show called The Hills, which Lauren Conrad went to the school on. And I was like, this is it. I'm not going to Parsons. New York sucks. I'm going to LA. Little did I know it was going to be so hard, and I was going to pull 3 to 4 all-nighters a week. It was crazy. So I majored in fashion design there. And I sort of, as that's going on at the same time, I had been on this surf trip. So I grew up surfing with my brother on the Great Lakes.
Time out. Does anybody else know that you can actually surf in the Great Lakes?
I'm from Michigan and I didn't know. I grew up there, so that's news to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just Skatie, tell a little bit to everybody about Pat.
Okay, so yeah, totally. So my brother Pat, he actually basically spends all of his time traveling on a bus around the Great Lakes chasing waves, and it's all wind swell. So you really have to like follow storms. So he pretty much commits 100% of his life to finding waves on the Great Lakes and filming and making art about that. So I was always swimsuits were always in my like realm in the background. So
but hold on, like Pat surfs in the middle of winter. I mean, he's in like it's not even a dry suit. It's like he becomes like the Michelin Man in like black and like a hoodie and like boots. And so you didn't ever do any of that stuff. You're not wearing swimsuits when he's out there in like December.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure he has like temperature controlled wetsuits. Let me say he's asked me to go out with him in winter a million times, and I'm absolutely not. I'm such a Southern California girl now. I won't even go out here when it's cold. Yeah, so he has an Instagram, and he's been featured on this there's a magazine called The Great Lake Surfer, and he's been featured there a bunch, where you'll see he has a beard and he has like full icicles down his beard.
Yeah. Guys, it's crazy, right? So on top of the fact that nobody really realizes you can surf the Great Lakes, like he's doing it in the dead of winter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, talk about passion, pretty damn cool. So, all right, yeah. But you grew up surfing with Pat in the warmer times of the year, right?
Mm-hmm. And sort of, we spent time in Hawaii and Florida. So it was always something that was happening in my life. I always thought it was really cool. And then we grew up on the lake in Chicago, so I obviously had a crazy bikini collection growing up. It was like, for girls, it's hard to, I don't know if it's like ties for men, but girls have like drawers full of bathing suits.
I can tell you, it's not like ties for guys. I mean, I've got a bunch of ties, and if I don't have to wear one, it's either a funeral or a wedding. I'm wearing a tie. Other than that, no thanks. So, but it's like shoes. Like you guys, women love their shoes. And they're drawn to them, and so obviously you had the same sort of affection for swimsuits.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about them is they're a lot more affordable. Getting like a really nice bathing suit is a lot more affordable than getting a really nice pair of shoes. And I feel like there's something that you can have one thing on and that's a really cool outfit. There's not very many things that you can own where that's like makes an outfit, and it's like so simple and affordable.
All right. I got to ask, this is going to sound like a kind of a random, strange question, but like, how old were you when you started wearing bathing suits that like didn't cover your butt? Because like I'm sitting here, I've got two girls, and if I was your dad, Uncle Nick, I'd be like, hey, Skatie, you got to cover that up. Like, how old were you when you were like pushing the line on that?
Well, I pushed the line my entire life. I'm pretty sure my parents have not been able to tell me what to do or really even ask questions since I was, one. Yeah. I'm going to say I started wearing inappropriate bathing suits from right around 13.
Wait, you're calling them inappropriate? Those are your words, not mine.
I would say a 13-year-old wearing a thong bikini is probably inappropriate, but I was pretty confident that I was a grown-up when I was 13, so.
Oh my God. Is this what I'm supposed to look forward to of my two girls?
Have a heart attack.
Skatie, you are not making me feel very comfortable right now about raising daughters.
Aren't you so glad that you have two girls? It's okay. We're swapping. I'm going to have a boy, and I have absolutely no clue what to do with a boy.
Yeah. You're going to do great. It's going to be soccer and karate class and all that stuff. And I'm over here with like dance class and jazzercise and ballet and nutcracker. And yeah.
And shopping. Just wait. Shopping. That's going to become a huge thing. Online shopping. Dad, can I borrow your credit card? It used to be for games. It's going to become, Dad, can I just have your credit card number to go shopping on this website? And later you're going to look back and be like, oh no.
Nope. I'm sending them to a convent in probably about 2 years, whether they like it or not.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
All right. Hey, so let's get back to you for a second. So you're 13, you're growing up. right? You're in love with swimsuits. You've got this obviously really strong personality where you kind of know who you are. You're confident with who you are, even if it means you're kind of breaking rules or pushing limits. Like you're totally fine with that. And you're growing up surfing. You knew you wanted to own your own business. You've got a passion for swimwear, so you decide you're going to go to what's the name of the school in California?
Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Yeah.
But like short, you can call it FITM. That's what we all call it, FITM.
FITM. Okay, so was getting into FITM hard?
Getting into my program was a little bit harder, but getting into FITM, I would not say is super challenging. I'd say it's pretty accessible to pretty much like anyone who wants to apply. It's expensive, as all colleges are. But I always tell my family it's sort of like interesting getting into Tulane. I applied to like Vanderbilt, Tulane, University of Miami, like all of these like really good schools because I thought it was, you know, what you were supposed to do. Like where I went to high school, you graduated, got into the best school you could, went to a 4-year program, worked at like a traditional job. So that wasn't even like a thought in my mind that I could go to sort of like an alternative school or program. And Tulane was so much easier than FITM was. I could get away with anything. I didn't have to do homework. I was mostly just partying. I was, you know, what I was learning at a traditional university versus what I was learning at FITM, which was project-based, skill-based. It was just a lot harder. But it was
and you knew what you wanted to do. Like you were driven by it as opposed to like, you know, why am I taking sociology class? Like it's kind of like taking calculus. I'm never going to use that. Like this is sure I want to do okay, but I don't like it's not really applicable to my life. Whereas you're at something that you really care about. How long was the program? How many years?
I did it for how long was the program? It was supposed to be done in 2 years. I did it in 2.5, 3, because I took less classes. I actually worked while I was, which is part of how I ended up doing Skatie, was I chose to have jobs and internships. And I just couldn't handle the workload in 2 years with that. And then I also met my husband, who was living in the UK. We actually met in South Africa on a surf trip, which is also like sort of part of how Skatie came to be. Like everything in my life kind of led to bathing suits, which is so weird. So I spent about 3 years, 2.5, I think, there. And I worked 2 separate jobs and did 2 to 3 internships while I was there, which I always tell anyone who interviews with me now to work at Skatie that I don't like care really about where you went to school. I don't care like about a lot of the things that what your resume that most people would think matter on a resume. I care a lot more about like where have you had experience in the industry? Have I seen you do things that have been like outside of the traditional what you should be doing, if that makes sense.
Totally. It's funny you say that because like the advice I give to everyone, like high schoolers, college students, I tell people, look, go intern in as many places as you possibly can for a handful of reasons. One, because it's the best, fastest route for you to get a job when you finish. If you do a good job, they will most likely hire you, right? So it's the best, fastest way to employment. But even equally as important to that is go work in a couple of different industries to figure out, not so much, it's great to find out what you really like, but it's even more important to find out what you don't like, because if you don't like something, and I got a buddy from college who went to an Ivy League law school and graduated and spent a bunch of money on a law degree and worked for 1.5 years as an attorney and realized he hated it.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh man. Like he's so smart and he's so talented, but like, you know, he dedicated so much. If he would have just known in advance, like he could have gone a different path and not spent those years of his life doing something. So I tell people all the time, like go intern, realize it's equally important to figure out what you don't like as opposed to what you do like. So it's good.
Absolutely.
You obviously value that too. And you want to see people that are, successful with their work before they get to you.
Totally. And I think that, can you go back? I had something that was on the tip of my tongue. Remind me what you just said. And the last thing
I was talking about internships. We were talking about
I want to say this is pregnancy brain, but as you were
you
talking,
can have pregnancy. If you think of it in a second, bring it on, bring it back on. I don't know what else will.
Wait, sorry. Yes. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to start a brand, if you want to own a business, working these internships and jobs that may to some people be like, ooh, why did you need to work retail at like a really cool, boutique when you were in college? Why are you associating that with what you're doing now? I picked up from every single job that I had a little piece of what was right and wrong. And because I like knew in my mind, I was like, okay, what's my future thing? I was able to say, this is a bad idea. This is a good idea. Where is the future of the industry going? What do I need to be focusing on? So not everyone is thinking when they're 19 years old and they're going to start a brand when they're 27. They're not thinking about that, but I kind of always was. And I feel like I got to be doing all this at a really interesting time, which was like the beginning of social media, sort of the death of what I think wholesale is pretty much dead. I would say COVID was the nail in the coffin, which is why I decided to launch my brand direct to consumer. And I remember when I launched Skatie, I did this whole pitch to the branding company. They had me do this presentation about like, what is Skatie? Like, give us some background. What is it going to be? So that they could like get things going, help me with branding. And I was like, I'm going to be direct to consumer online bathing suits. And they were like, no one wants to buy bathing suits online. Everyone wants to go to a store to do this. They all thought I was crazy because traditional wholesale was still the biggest thing. This is when everyone was shopping at Barney's, which RIP. Everyone was shopping at Nordstrom still, which, it's just a different world.
It is totally a different world. I think you're exactly right that COVID has accelerated the death of a lot of the traditional retailers. But you knew from the beginning, you were like, what was your rationale from going direct to consumer right away? Because it turned out to be the smartest, best move you ever did. But, did you realize that at the time?
I was pretty, just like when I was younger and I knew what I wanted, I was pretty sure that I was doing the right thing. I worked in wholesale, designing for a couple of their brands, and wholesale is great. If you need cash or you need guaranteed revenue from the beginning, it's great. But they can return items to you. So then you're accepting back goods that you have to pay them back for, which I was always like, this seems weird that they can do this. And I watched brands be literally crushed in returns from Revolve Clothing, Nordstrom's, like the major places. It literally destroyed huge brands. And then also manufacturing, which we haven't even started talking about that, which is a separate facet of my business because I pretty much own 100% of the manufacturing in my brand, is a lot of work. So if you're manufacturing, spending your capacity to manufacture goods for a company where you're making such small margins on it, you're basically like becoming a manufacturing business for someone else that's making money on you. That's sort of how I see it.
Well, I think you're totally spot on. But you said, I'm going to go direct to consumer, and I'm not going to deal with a wholesaler. I'm going to keep the margins myself. And one of the reasons you were able to do that is because you had a very specific manufacturing play. You were like, I'm going to have everything made in China. I'm going to have it shipped over on a boat. It's going to take 3 months for it to arrive, right? That's what you did.
Are you talking about me?
You went to Vietnam and you're like, I want everything to be cut and sewn in Vietnam, and we'll have to order inventory 6 months in advance, right?
No. But no.
Well, that's what everybody else does. What did you do?
I hunted, literally talked to as many people as I could, and found a couple of ladies who I knew were really good at making bathing suits. And they literally had a little tiny shop in their backyard and developed a relationship while I was building the brand. And made everything locally in LA. And on top of that, I knew that I wanted.
You can't do that. You can't do cut and sew in the United States, let alone in California.
I mean, we actually have such an amazing, thriving manufacturing industry in Los Angeles, despite all of the crazy restrictions that we have here, that our government puts in place, which is a separate issue. I feel like we shouldn't
We're not going to get into politics on this podcast. We're agnostic on this podcast. Everybody's right.
So basically, I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on an initial production run, and that's what you would have to do if you went overseas. There's really high minimums. You're really just shooting in the wind. You can be trying to source sustainable materials there, and you're kind of like don't know what you're getting. It might be the capacity might be bigger. It might be what everyone else is doing, but that was just not at all in my plan. I wanted to be completely local, completely sustainable. And I knew I had a pretty limited budget to work within in the beginning. So I actually reached out to other swimwear brands before I launched. Huge brands like Mara Hoffman. You guys won't know them because you're not into the luxury swimwear world, but
Josh is probably wearing some Mara Hoffman right now.
Well, I reached out to sort of 10 owners of brands and told them, hey, I want to use your surplus materials and make a line out of it and sort of see what came back. I knew that some people would definitely bite because one of the things that happens in our industry here is there's minimums when you buy fabric or when you print fabric. So all these designers have crazy surplus situations happening that they keep in warehouses in LA or wherever they manufacture in the country, especially because 4 years ago, people were definitely still doing wholesale. And so they were buying bulk. So I got a couple bites back. And I literally made my entire first line out of surplus materials from other brands.
And that's a core tenet, like a core value for Skatie, though, is environmentally sustainable. In this case, it was otherwise going to be turned into waste. Probably you've basically recycled fabric and turned it into a luxury good.
Yeah, and they sold it to me for pennies on the dollar. What they purchased for maybe $7 to $12 a yard, I was buying for 75 cents to $1 a yard. So it was just very low risk for me. I was able to make my initial investment go a lot farther. But there were downsides to it. I was limited in the amount that I could produce, which ultimately ended up being a good thing because all these brands think, oh, we're going to launch and day one, we're going to have, 10,000 orders. And no, that's definitely not what happens. So it's a blessing in disguise when you're super limited in what you have available.
So you were taking this, for lack of a better term, recycled fabric, or fabric that other people obviously you valued, but they were going to throw away. You turned it into a luxury good, but it wasn't, you weren't sending it abroad. You were doing this all in, essentially down the street, if you will, in California and LA, right? So how long did your supply chain, which is really cool. I'm going to nerd out on supply chain for a second, right? Normally, if you were to do this in Vietnam, it would be from the moment you knew what you wanted to the moment you could deliver it. I mean, that would take, first of all, you'd have massive minimums you'd have to meet. But secondly, that could be 2 to 4 to 6 months, depending on, what the cut and sew operation has. What's your timeline for turning around a product if you had to guess?
So, for example, right now we just approved a print. So I have my printer, which is literally a 5-minute drive for me. So I can send artwork to him to print on our fabric, which we do all in the most sustainable way that you can. We use paper that we then recycle. It's like a heat transfer process that we use. That through to it being on our website, I believe we're shooting this print next week will be around 2.5 to 3 weeks.
That's crazy. So you can
From the moment you have an idea to the moment you have it printed to the moment it's on your website is a 3-week turnaround.
Mm-hmm. But remember, it's because I own my manufacturing. I've like, not only do I still work with those like core team that I found before, they now manage like 50 to 75 other sewers who work just for Skatie. So we have basically like, you know, we never have to like worry about someone else's production being in there. We just have a constant flow of work for our people. And we keep basically like grudge goods, so our recycled goods, we keep them on hand and we have a pretty good estimate of how much we're going to need. And so we're able to like just so quickly produce new stuff. Or if it sells out, we can have it back on site within 2 to 3 weeks, which is also unheard of.
That's nuts. Now, I mean, from a sales standpoint, you guys have, I mean, I know some of this stuff, but I want to let you brag about yourself. Like how have sales done for you in the last couple of years since you launched your brand?
So I literally was just looking, let me look on my phone. I mean, I feel like there's so many stories of brands that go from 0 to 1 million so fast. That actually didn't happen for us. We launched, really nailed our processes, grew our social media following, because ultimately, like our social media presence and following is directly correlated to how we've done, which is a whole separate issue.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about your social media in a second. Yeah.
But last year, I think we grew by like 500 or 600%. The year before that, we grew by 300%. And I think, which is crazy that during a pandemic.
So for all the private equity folks that are going to listen to this, they're going to realize that you're growing at 5x a year in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we did. These are relatively small numbers, like compared to if you have like a software company, I would say, because we're limited by the amount of production that we can like physically make and like get into the hands of people, which is one of our challenges right now, is scaling up our production. But we went from doing like over $1 million to doing just under $6 million to right now, if we stay on track, we should do $20 million.
And then you'll join YPO and I'll get to harass you around the planet wherever you go for these YPO meetings.
And it's crazy because our margins are so good. So many other companies don't make a profit and we're cash positive. So we've basically taken no money. We're basically going to turn like what I think started as total between all of the money that we took ever to start the business, around $100,000, and we're going to turn it into $20 million.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Did you have any supply chain break?
Oh, hey, Barry's here. I knew you were around, buddy.
I was on first, but then I started reading about Skatie. I didn't realize y'all started, so I apologize for that. Did you experience any kind of supply chain breakdown when COVID? Obviously, you're manufacturing locally, but materials, any of that? Did you have any hiccups there?
Yes, and no. So because I saw COVID coming. So because we get our like grège or like base textile, which is made from recycled materials, but it's made in China. Like our base swim fabric is we get made in China. It comes here. We do all of our printing and manufacturing processes here. I think in December, we realized what was going on there. So I was like, okay, well, we need to buy everything that we can that's available from this company so that in case shit hits the fan, we have what we need here to get ready for spring and summer. So we did that and shit hit the fan. And what happened was I thought we were going to have enough materials to be good until basically spring was over. But we grew so exponentially during the beginning of COVID because everyone was online and everyone was looking on social media. And for some reason, everyone was buying swimwear and activewear. that around February, we ran out of what I had set aside for that. I reached back out to our person that who gets the fabric, like an importer here for us. And he had stockpiled some. So I basically just gambled and spent like a bunch of money on stockpiling grudge goods and was like, okay, like, you know, we also like reserved, we were like contacting the mills in China, finding out like, okay, how much can we reserve from the day that it's open? What's sitting in your port? So really like 90% of owning a business is just putting out fires like every single day. That's like all I do. So that was sort of the first breakdown in my chain. But on the other hand, because I owned my own manufacturing, I was able to be super nimble. So when everything shut down in LA, I kind of like saw what was going on overseas and talked to the girls. These are the original girls who I started working with. We've sort of grown together. And they're really just like a part of the Skatie team. I wouldn't even say technically they're their own business, but we are so closely correlated. I looked at them and I was like, what are we going to do if they shut down everything? This was in January. So I convinced them and helped them buy industrial sewing machines for all of their sewers to put in their homes. So basically what we did is we continued to produce all of our stuff from people's homes. So I would have one person printing, and then I would have one person who was like a driver going and picking up from the printer, dropping off to the cutter, and then we would distribute to people who were able to continue to work from their homes while the entire city was shut down. So
that is so incredible. I remember talking to you as you were literally pulling this plan off, and I was like, you guys are geniuses. It was so awesome to hear how you were able to actually make that work, where most manufacturing, you know, look, you got shut down, they got shut down. Instead, you guys were like, how do we get cut and sew operations to go to everybody's home? Let's get them all the equipment they need. Let's keep people working. Obviously, they get paid as they're working, but also, you know, your sales were exploding during that time. Like you crushed it.
Right. And everyone else it was sort of the perfect storm for us because so many of our competitors were reliant on wholesale. And so they were getting returns, or they had all this inventory that they're like, oh, we have $1 million of inventory that we can't sell. On top of it, they can't make any new inventory because they're reliant on, you know, third-party manufacturing that they can't control at all. So their supply chain is not right. So most websites like stop being able to like deliver a new product. So we just like pushed all of our cards in and went for it, and it totally paid off.
Yeah, you're like, hey, everyone, come over here.
I'm like, okay, great. It's like I've been running social media ads, like I'm sure you see them, like sponsored ads on Facebook, Instagram, Google. And what was everyone doing at home in, you know, March, April, May? They were on social media. They were online. They were online shopping because no one knew what was going on, when it was going to end. They had nothing else to do. And so many of the big companies that have huge budgets that do, you know, millions a month, they spend millions of dollars a month on social ads normally. So I'm competing with those ad dollars. They just didn't know what to do and stopped. And so it got really cheap for me to get eyeballs on what I was doing. Yeah. Which was, you know, I don't know if I'll ever be able to happen again.
Well, so tell everybody about your social media strategy. Because if somebody goes to, it's literally just Skatie on Instagram, right? Or the Skatie official, which one is it?
It's Skatie_official, but Instagram, like I've been trying to get the Skatie username. If anyone at Instagram is watching this, I've been trying to get the Skatie username for like years, and there's an account that hasn't been turned on for like 4 or 5 years. And it's someone's like personal Instagram, and they have 2 pictures posted from 2013. And the only comments are me sort of like every 6 months being like, hello, can I buy this name from you? Please contact me. Like, I own this business. Please contact me.
I know a guy that could maybe help you. I'll take that offline, but
Okay.
tell everybody about your like your Instagram photos are, I mean, they're insane, right? Like your photo shoots are crazy. I mean, I've got text threads of friends of mine. They're like, "Did you see what Skatie just posted?" Like, it's kind of,
crazy. Well, I mean, I think it's a lot easier to grow. I think I also sort of like, it's easier to grow an Instagram following when there's beautiful girls wearing like minimal clothing. But obviously, like, you have to make it, I think what we do really well is we're not like a sexy girl. Yes, we have beautiful models. Yes, we have like beautiful normal girls that we post, but I wouldn't say we're like a sexy girl brand. We make everything is like very relatable for like the every girl too. So, which is like so key in what you do. If a girl looks at a bikini and is like, oh, I would never wear that, they're not going to purchase. But I think we live in this intersection of like, this is an aspirational brand, but like also I can see me wearing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you may not, I'm going to say something that you shared with me once that was really intriguing. You said you had two different models, two different photos of people. And one was a like supermodel, or if you will, and one was, a good looking, but like I'd say normal person. And the traction you got from the normal person far outweighed the supermodel, which was really insightful, right? People, they wanted the aspirational, but they really wanted to see a normal person wearing it. That was pretty interesting when you told me about that.
100%. We have this girl who's sort of become our like face of our brand. She does all of our e-com and she's like featured in most of our photo shoots. And she's not a model. She's like 5'3". She's a surfer girl. She actually was a Malibu lifeguard. But she's like has a perfect body and, looks great and everything. And, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't think about these things now that we've talked about. It's just like, so, I don't know. It's interesting to even think about these things now.
So you guys do these amazing photo shoots in some of the coolest locations with like, and a lot of these models are like your friends, right? That's what you like.
Well, I mean, aren't you friends with the people that you guys work with?
Not really. I mean, nobody really likes Josh.
I like Josh.
Barry, this is our time when we gang up on Josh. So you don't, come on, man.
Josh was crying this morning, so I
wiped my tears away before I got on the call.
You were like, I just am so stressed out about meeting Skatie. There's so much pressure. What am I going to do?
He was in a bikini, and he didn't know how it looked, and he went downhill. So we're here to pump Josh up today.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I didn't bring one of my Instagram models like into Zoom next time. So now that you're talking about our photo shoots, let me say this is one of our biggest expenses. We can't do them like all of the time. Like there are times where I have to sort of make it work with like my iPhone to like do a product launch or with just like one model who we're like shooting for e-com, but we definitely invest a significant amount of our budget into making like incredible photo shoots and hiring really great models who have bigger social media followings, because all of that plays into the getting eyeballs on your social media strategy. When we set up really cool photo shoots, and when we make really good content, we don't have to pay the people who are in that to post. They just like organically want to share it. And I think that my partner who started the brand with me, Mandy, she is really good at that kind of stuff, like setting up environments. Like I'll design, we'll imagine together, she sets up an environment. And I feel like that's been like having quality content that doesn't really look like this is a photo shoot for like Maxim magazine. It's like very social media, very every person targeted, has really been the key to our social media success.
Yeah, the stuff looks awesome. All right, we got like 10 minutes left. What do you guys want to ask Skatie?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Someone else go before me because
No, Brooklyn, come on. What's on your mind?
To manage. I mean, I have been following Skatie and her business from day one because I knew Barbara and I knew Zeb, and you know, Barbara had bought one of your suits and she was like, you know, I'm just buying, you know, I'm supporting. She just started her business, and so I was like, okay, I'll go check her out. And I've been following since pretty much day one. I feel like, I mean, that was almost, gosh, what, 6 years ago, 5, 6, how long?
Just over 4 years, like 4 and a couple months.
Okay, I think I had known Barbara and Zeb for a little bit, and then that came into the picture. But I just remember Barbara was like, oh yeah, just go throw on one of the suits I bought, see if you like it, and then you can maybe buy, you know, from her. And so I tried one on and I was like, this is the most comfortable bathing suit I've ever worn in my entire life. I was like, I'm never gonna buy another Target suit, like never again. I'm never going back. So that was when it changed for me. And then I just started, like, I have some of your first prints like in a huge drawer of mine, and I have, you know, some of your most recent ones. But I know,
and you're so good at engaging with us. Like I know exactly who you are because you're like, DM me on my personal, and you're really good about sharing and engaging with us. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, it's super fun though. Like you said, it is a community feel. It's not just like, hey, buy our suits and that's the end of the road. Like it's definitely like you engage with your customer base like crazy. I mean, you're basically like influencers, you know, like you're your own influencer. So, and you play such a huge role in your company as well. You know, you're like always in like some of your shoot photos, and you're like just engaging, and like there's, you know, your story on your Instagram, your business Instagram. So you're just so intertwined with your story. So
and that's me. Exactly what you just said. I feel like that's almost better than I could put it. It's like every little thing that you just said, like, oh, you're featured in some of it, but you're not. And you post certain things on your personal, but you're not. I mean, that is like a huge part of, I think, what made Skatie successful. And it's very time consuming. Whenever I tell people, they're like, I want to start a brand and I want it to be super successful. And I'm like, great, be prepared to spend 6 hours a day on social media across multiple accounts.
Right. I'm sure. It's just awesome. You're always like in the background, like, you know, there's like a photo snap of you every once in a while of you like fixing the model's hair, and you're like in one of your own, like, you know, you're in your own active wear. And it's like, it's just so true and transparent, and like you're just super like honest with your clients. And you're always doing try-ons, which is awesome because, you know, a lot of people, like, I know you have a physical storefront that people used to go to, but those are huge. You know, people can really
okay, wait, we should talk about that, because now that you mentioned that, you guys are probably gonna like be like, what even is that? So so one of the things that I think made us even more successful was I started doing try-ons. Whenever we had a drop, I would like use a full-length mirror, and I would personally try on every single style in my size and like show them what it looks like on me and be like, this is what this is made for, and talk about the item, and like, which is like kind of what you want to do when you're shopping in person. You know, you want to like get a bunch of information about what this is. And I think it made people really comfortable with purchasing online. So that was like something that I just did because I wanted to have content and wanted to be able to like talk about what I was creating and what I was designing. That ultimately led to like it being such a, this is like, if I don't do a try on, I'm sure you see the comments. Yeah. Every single time I post about a new drop, people are like, when are you doing a try on? Like, when is the try on coming? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm 6 months pregnant, so no one wants to see that.
It's awesome. And now that you've brought on, you know, additional girls to your team, I mean, they've started doing try-ons, which is awesome because, you know, we all love seeing you do it because you know, you are the face of your own brand. But like, it's awesome to see, you know, other girls that are very normal and very just relatable, just kind of step in and be like, this is what the suit looks like on me, you know, just different body stuff like that. So,
and I feel like this is the perfect example of, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this podcast, you have to try things and you have to see what works, because you're going to be like, there's the formula of XYZ, and then this is what's going to happen. But honestly, it's things that happen in between when you're testing or when it's not the part of the original formula that end up being what makes your brand or your company unique, and what you end up deciding to like really push and like, I I don't know, what really takes your brand to the next level. So whenever I like meet someone who's like doing a company or has a startup and wants advice, I'm like, just don't forget to like look up. Don't forget to like take a step back and say what's working and what's not, because not one company if I was to start a second business, if I would start a second brand, I would have to find that one thing that works, and it's going to be different than what Skatie, like what works for Skatie is.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's great though. I mean, it's just been awesome to watch you grow. And like, for shits, I just went and counted how many suits I have of yours. And I was like, I have like 18 suits. And I'm like, and now I have the loungewear and the active wear. And it's not like I buy every single suit that you release, but I'm just like, you know, I have like 18 different prints, and then I have like 4 styles of each, you know, like bottom or like whatever. But it's like, I have so much of it. But
I know it's collectible. It genuinely is collectible. There's people who send me pictures of drawers, and I could be better about sharing this on social media, but I have customers who will lay out every single suit that they have in print and like send me pictures of them on social media, and it's like a pride thing. And that is so crazy. I'm still like feel like, what am I doing? You know, I'm still trying to figure out all of my stuff. And the fact that people like care enough about our brand, or like that think that it's cool enough to like think something's collectible, is like, oh God, that's so incredible.
I know. And you look like you have a busy summer too. I know you were just doing a Q&A and you were like, yeah, we're dropping like a print a week this summer or something crazy like that. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's very exciting. We didn't get to, I know we only have we didn't even touch really, we haven't even skimmed the surface on social media and some of the strategies that I think are really worked for me. You guys won't know who this is, but we did a collab with someone called the Salty Blonde.
I know who that is. Come on. What do you mean you guys don't know who this is?
We went from like 10,000 email subscribers to like 28,000 in a week, which you can't buy. That's like crazy. We did 3 drops with her over the summer, and one of them on the first, I think I texted you, Zeb. I was like, we just did 300K in sales in under an hour through our online store from like one of the drops of this influencer. So, how you pay them and like, you know, the split and how it all works. It's so interesting. And like, I literally had to figure it out as I went. I was like reaching out to their managers and negotiating, you know, these crazy deals. Just not knowing if it was going to pay off. But so we have a collab coming out with a different influencer who is much bigger this summer. And she has, I
love Kim Kardashian. She's my favorite.
Weirdly, like, I don't think the Kardashians are on brand for us. Like, Courtney posted
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking here.
We have another, so that's like a huge part of our strategy is like pairing with these influencers, because, you know, it's pretty much guaranteed return. Especially if they're like organically posting in your suits and you know what their sales are anyway. So that's for a different time.
You know, we could actually, you could give everybody, you know, for lack of a better term, get them a PhD in social media by spending another hour just talking about this. We've got one more minute. Who wants to ask Skatie the last question? I mean, it's www.skatie.com. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook. But all right, last question. Josh, Brooklyn, Barry.
I don't want to take up anyone else's
No, go ahead. Go ahead, B, please.
No, really. You guys go. You got it.
What are you most excited for the upcoming next 12 months? You have a baby on the way. So that's personal. No, you're not excited about that?
I don't know if I'm excited for that yet. I haven't found the right nanny. So
when's the due date roughly?
June 26th is when the baby, I believe, is coming.
You're gonna name it Zebby Bobby after me, right? We already decided this. That's a joke, Skatie. You don't have to say yes to that. I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to think of what my most exciting thing for this year is. I think what's just most exciting is the potential of like seeing, like, we've had such exponential growth, and it was such a different year, and I'm really excited to see does that happen again this year? And sort of like, what's the next, where are we taking all of this? You know, what's the next step for Skatie? Because in my mind, we are hopefully going to be something like Patagonia, where we just continue to add in product categories and people continue to like be loyal to our brand. And that we're here for like a long time, that we're not just like a fashion company. That's not like what I'm interested in. So that's what I'm excited.
You are awesome, and your story is fantastic, and the brand you've built on with you and your partners has been so fun to watch. I'm super proud of you. Not that you needed to hear that, but I really am. So, Skatie, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining the Team Victus podcast. Really appreciate you sharing your time and your story. And
good luck with your cryptocurrency.